Once upon a time, thousands of years ago, the great deities ruled across the universe in their various kingdoms. And there were two sisters, Ereshkigal and Innana. Innana was the goddess of love and war, and more importantly, fertility. The beginning of new life all across the planet was her domain. Innana's fame and renown grew as humankind flourished upon the earth, and the worship at her temples increased exponentially. Innana's sister, Ereshkigal, ruled with a steadiness of hand and a purity of heart in the underworld, until jealousy and loneliness grew and grew. Ereshkigal was forgotten in the underworld. Humankind did not worship at her temples. They did not expand the grounds of her holy sites. In fact, they feared her. Ereshkigal's jealousy grew to rage and bitterness, until one day she hatched a plan. She would dethrone her sister and take vengeance upon the earth for leaving her lonely and rejected. So Ereshkigal waited for one of her sister's occasional visits. She had plenty of time to wait. And Innana did descend to the underworld by her own choice to visit her sister, whom she had not seen for many, many years. But when Innana entered the throne room of Ereshkigal's lapis lazuli palace, Ereshkigal smiled and said, "And now you will never leave, for sister, you are in my domain and the realm of my power, and I have taken from you the essence of life, and here you will stay for all eternity." On the planet above, crops withered. Birds no longer laid eggs in their nests, and human beings not only could no longer procreate, they had no desire to. The earth fell into brown, and then into gray, and then into bitter, bitter cold. And there was fear that all food would run out, and all life would cease upon the earth. And from the underworld, Ereshkigal, in her loneliness and bitterness, proclaimed this curse: "No man and no woman may enter into the underworld to bring the waters of life, that which would be the only thing to resuscitate and revive Innana from her underworld state back to the land of the living." But the great creator, Ea, looked under their fingernails and said, "I am not concerned." For Ea had created another, one who was not just a man, and one who was not just a woman, one who was neither and who was all, and entirely undefined. One who was not a goddess and not a god, but a Goddexx, a deity of another sort, Asushunamir, not a man, not a woman. Asushunamir, whose name means radiant, bravely took upon the quest to descend to the underworld at great risk and bring the waters of life to Innana. But how to get them to her? The radiant one, Asushunamir, did enter into the great lapis lazuli palace of Ereshkigal and charmed her with words of greeting and honor in her royal court. And Ereshkigal was so taken to be given such tender attentions by so handsome a deity, and so beautiful a deity, and so unusual a deity. Ereshkigal had been lonely for a very long time, and someone finally gave her tenderness and praise. And this continued forward while Asushunamir concealed the waters of life from the queen of the underworld, Ereshkigal. And one might say that Asushunamir romanced the queen of the underworld most passionately. The text is a little unclear here as to whether Innana cheered them on or joined in herself. And as I am unsure whether or not there are any children present watching, I will just say the romance was quite fervent and distracting. And in the midst of this distraction, Asushunamir, the radiant one, was able to coyly slip the waters of life to the queen of war and love and fertility, Innana, and life was immediately rushed in and restored to her, and she swiftly escaped the underworld and climbed to her proper seat to preside over the fertility of the earth. And spring came to the land, and crops were able to grow, and the birds laid eggs in their nests, and humankind joyfully procreated. And in her own way, Ereshkigal was satisfied. And Asushunamir also left the underworld and continued on the deity journey. Yet, once again, humankind did not honor the ruler of the realm of the dead, and Ereshkigal felt rather miffed at having been outsmarted in this way. And so Ereshkigal, alone again in the underworld, abandoned, pronounced a curse. And the curse was this: Asushunamir, you and all those like you, those who are not man and not woman, or all, or some, or none, those who are not one or the other, you shall be treated as pariahs. You shall be treated with suspicion and contempt. People will not know how to categorize you, and so they will be wary and suspicious of you. All your kind, forever. Deeply wounded, Asushunamir went to the queen of life, Innana, and said, "What shall be done? Those like me are now cursed for all time." Innana was grieved and said to Asushunamir, "Ereshkigal and I are equals. We are sisters. I cannot undo her curse, but I can give you a blessing. You and all your kind will have the spirit gift. You shall be connected to the other worlds like no other beings. You shall have a spiritual connection unlike any other. And you and your kind shall serve me in my temples at the highest level." And so the priest, the priestess, the pastrix, the clergy, all those who served Innana, they were known as the Gala, and they were legion of highly respected, highly honored spiritual leaders, the genderqueer clergy of the goddess of life. My name is Lo Ziv. I am Omnigender. My pronouns are Z, Zir. We have always been here. We will always be here. And one day, if no man and no woman can save you, perhaps call upon us to bring you back to life.